Well, good afternoon and happy Palm Sunday. Minister Gabriel Lack coming to you live. And our program today is based on the metaphysical symbolism of not just Palm Sunday, but the metaphysical symbolism of all these holy holidays. The reason there's so much confusion and there's such a great reluctance to observe them is because we don't really understand the deeper significance. And so I want to try to, how you, Sister Brandon. So I want to attempt to help us get a deeper insight into the symbolical meaning, you see? Because whether it's Ramadan, Christmas, Easter, Palm Sunday, there are millions of people around the planet who are pouring out their emotions, their heart in observance of these days. Many consider them holy days. And we're moving through this current of energies and not taking advantage of it. So whether you're a Muslim at Ramadan, if the focus is on submission to the Most High, then there's an ocean of energy that we're moving through that we could be taken advantage of. If we can just open up our hearts and our minds and get and understand what's actually happening. Thanksgiving, with the same, and there are billions of people across the planet giving thanks. No matter what the history of Thanksgiving is prior to current times. So we're moving through this ocean of electromagnetic energies with people giving Thanksgiving, and we've locked ourselves down because that's not a part of our philosophical or religious beliefs. So if we can broaden our understanding of all of these holidays, then we would be to our great advantage. So today, Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday actually deals with the psychological definition of Palm Sunday. Metaphysically, is that it represents a time of crucifying the false elements in our personality. So that's what I want to share with you. This is from an article that I wrote many years ago, so I don't even remember how long ago it was. But it's the universal message of the resurrected Christ. The wonderful thing about understanding the esoteric significance of these teachings is that we see that they apply to humanity across the board. For example, the story of Jesus and the 12 disciples, whether Jesus was historical or mythical, allegorical, it still represents the 12 aspects of human personality. And Jesus representing our divinity, as does the Atman in the Hindu system. Amen Ra, the Christ principle, KRST. So knowledge of the language of religious symbolism is the key to an in-depth understanding of biblical scriptures. And remember now, Bible relates to any recording of scriptures. So the Quran is a Bible, the Gita is a Bible, the Vedanta scriptures, the Vedic scriptures are a Bible. So one of the greatest benefits derived from this seldom used approach to biblical studies is the discovery of the practical application. You see, if we went to church today, if we observed Palm Sunday, we would more or less be hearing the same story that we've heard for umpteen years. Jesus riding into Jerusalem on the donkey, etc., etc. But if we understand that Palm Sunday, the palm tree, represents the highest of human attainments, because the palm is one of the tallest trees and it has a crown at the top. So in this biblical analysis of events that culminated in the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus, the main objective is for us to understand how does that apply to me. So that whether I wear palm, whether I witness someone else wearing palm, I'll know that that represents some victorious achievement. Maybe the person stopped smoking cigarettes, eating the wrong foods, drinking too much, spending too much money, gambling, chasing members of the opposite sex. So then every year has a meaning, because, okay, how much progress have I made since last Easter, since last Palm Sunday? And so it makes it an interesting personal affair. So we understand then that the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus, the main objective is to increase our understanding of how these events relate, correspond to our personal spiritual walk. I often remind us that truth is one, paths are many, which means that all of the religious teachings, if God is light, then the same light shines through the church, the synagogue, attends the Bombay, the mosque. We're depriving ourselves of unseen spiritual treasures by limiting our energies to our particular religious, philosophical ideologies. If you've just tuned in, my name is Minister Gabriel Amlek Baba G, the representative of the Egyptian Christian congregation. And that is the integration of the teachings of the ancient masters in all of religions, because the teachings of Egypt were derived from systems that far, way back predate them. And we're integrating that with the teachings of the metaphysical teachings of Master Jesus, whether it was allegorical or symbolical. So when understood from the highest perspective, the life and teachings of Jesus are a graphic example, a portrayal of the experiences that you and I go through in every particular religious system. Good afternoon, Karen Brittany. Thank you for joining. And so we want then to see how, as we move to this day, through this day, and we have many people observing Palm Sunday, we can say the greatest majority, they do know it involves sacrifice, crucifixion. They just are not aware of it, how it can fit into their personal life as intimately as they could or should. So the purpose of today's program is to take us above the literal level of the scriptures to the symbolical level. There's a language that you might want to begin to study, the language of religious symbolism. One of the books that you can get that gives some insight is the book Unity, School of Practical Christianity. Has a book on the symbolism of names, the dictionary, Metaphysical Dictionary. That'll give you some start. It's a very, very impressive, helpful book. One of the books that I started out some 40 plus years ago, but very interesting. And so what we come to understand then is that the literal interpretation is very limited. So we want to move to the symbolical interpretation and study the language of religious symbolism. Okay. So then we understand the experiences that every person encounters in his or her spiritual quest. Each one of us has to crucify our false personality to move to a higher level of understanding. The 40 days of fasting and prayer symbolize the preparatory phase that each one of us goes through. 4 represents foundation. They tell you in many instances that the 40 years is a very important time in our life, our maturity. 4 times 10. 10 is the number of manifestation. So the 40 days symbolize the preparatory phase of cleansing and attunement and alignment that each person on every religious path has to deal with. If it is understood, if and when it's understood symbolically, ideally speaking, it's a wonderful religion, a wonderful teaching. And that's one of the reasons why I have been assigned the task of helping people get a deeper understanding of what Christianity actually represents. The word Christ means to be anointed. And so it means that whatever religion you and I are in, if we understand God is light, then a Christian is one who's striving to become anointed by the highest frequencies of solar energy. And unfortunately, the average Christian does not have that understanding. The 7 seals, the 7 chakras. The Statue of Liberty gives an example of that, because the Statue of Liberty shows Lady Liberty with 7 points coming through the crown. Wherever you see a crown in any religion, it represents the highest achievement, the opening of our crown chakra. I was talking to a dedicated sister last evening, and we were talking about how many people are actually leaving the church, and that saddens me. But they're leaving because they're not getting a deeper understanding. It saddens me when other people take the position that it's a deadbeat religion. The word, of course, religion means to bind back. And rather than criticize, this is the point. Rather than criticizing the system, the constructive way to do it. If someone comes to me who's Muslim, who's a Yoruba, who's calls himself a Christian, I don't try to convert them out of that religion. My teacher would help us, who I've spent time with in India in the 60s. His goal was to help us to become a better Christian, a better Muslim, a better Yoruba, a better Buddhist. Because if you dig into the well of truth, we reach the same stream of eternal wisdom. So the 40 days represent a period of preparation. We have yet to understand, for example, that most of us, that Krishna, how are you, brother? Good that you joined. Thanks for coming aboard. We have yet to understand, most of us, that that the major obstacle we have on the path of our spiritual evolution is we're putting the wrong articles into the human organism. This human organism, brothers and sisters, is a biocomputer. And just as I could only get this program today by working enough speed through a 4G hotspot, the block across the planet, without moving to the higher levels of spiritual development, because first of all, we don't even understand what spirituality is. If God is light, then spirituality is having access to more light, because this human organism is an electromagnetic biocomputer. And we can't up the frequency, we can't build up enough speed to tune into these higher vibrations on the dead diet. We're using the human organism for most of us as a cemetery, as a burial ground for the dead carcasses of dead animals. And of course, that's your choice, that's your decision. But at least we should understand what we're doing. That every time you light a cigarette, light a stick of marijuana, put some flesh into your system, you are densifying your instrument, because you have an instrument that is so powerful that it can take you to a higher level than we could ever imagine, ever achieve through any artificial stimulant. Because you can't pour new wine into old bottles. And so the biggest hurdle for most of us is to discontinue using, densifying our system with meat, chicken, fish. I know many of us are fish-tarians, which is a start. So the biggest obstacle to our spiritual evolution is the abuse of the senses. An unintelligent approach also to our expression of our sexual appetite. Doesn't mean it can't be worked with on a conscious level. But the way it's being presently dealt with is densifying us. You see? So cleansing and attunement. But we can't attune as long as we're consuming dead items, dense items. Okay. And we can do it slowly, but it's you see, if we understand the ideal, that is the thing we need to do. This is the year, brothers and sisters, of the pursuit of ideals. 2018 is the 11th year, if you add it together. And so this is the year that we must approach ideals. Yes, Barbara Vesh. We must approach ideals. And the ideals we want to approach this year even have to do with our country. Understanding really what the American dream is and how the American dream ties into our spiritual growth and development, which I'll touch on before we leave today. And so if we want to move towards the advanced stages of spiritual development, let's get it in our mind that the spiritual path has to, if God is light, then the spiritual path means preparing ourselves to tune into more higher frequencies of light. The human organism, oh my God. It is the crown of creation. We're housing all of the energies and the frequencies, and that we can tune in to the highest, most volatile energies that stream forth from the pyramid at Giza. And as I said earlier, if you look at the Statue of Liberty, it represents those 7 points, those 7 frequencies of energy. But Lady Liberty is holding a torch in her hand, which represents the phallic symbol, a lit torch that you sisters have to teach the brothers. And this is a dichotomy. Teach males how to lift that sexual energy up instead of taking off all your clothes and showing all your curves, to encourage him to take it the other way. So Palm Sunday. So the psychological message of Palm Sunday is to find out, each one of us, what in my personality do I need to crucify? Am I a negative thinker? Do I focus too much on the downside of life? Do I analyze things that are not really important? Then my analytical abilities, I'm saying that because the name Barbara is the name of an analyst. This is Karen, is the name of a person who likes to build, who always has to be busy. But are we building? Are you building something that really is constructive? Are you analyzing things, Williams, Barbara's, for example, that are taking my consciousness to another level? Okay. So the temptations used to test Jesus remind us of the test every individual must pass on the path to God realization. Each one of us has a test. That's our curriculum for every lifetime. So what is my test? And Judas represents denial, the denial factor. What am I in denial of? One of the major things, for example, people of color in the West, in the world in general, melanated, is the victim consciousness. We just ignore totally karma. And that's what has us in such a limited, at such a limited level of progress. I go on radio program after radio program, and if it's a program created by a melanated personality, the same thing comes up over and over again. We will not accept the fact, this is our denial, our cheap denial, that there's no such thing as a victim unless I'm a victim of my own karma. The nation is in a deep denial, and unfortunately that has to be presented also, has to be approached. That we're spoiled and misusing and abusing resources. It was wonderful yesterday to see all the young people. The chart of astrology, the astrology chart for Washington, D.C. shows clearly that it's time for young people to take their energy to be more expressive. Of their problems, their desires. But that's another level of explanation that we need to talk about. Another area that needs to be explained. And so melanated people are denying that karma, and our Caucasian brothers and sisters are denying that they need to come out of the cave mentality. I wrote something this morning I'm going to put on Facebook in a day or two on weapons and wolves. The Caucasian has to understand that weapons and wolves are not the answer. That may be the answer when they were in the caves. But if you look carefully and pay attention, the same individual who walked out of the caves with weapons and wolves is the same individual that's obsessed with weapons and dogs, the canines, the descendants of the wolves, right now. So there's a whole another level that has to be dealt with. So the denial of people of color has to come off of that we're not victims, and the Caucasian has to come out of the denial that he's still living out his fear of being put back in the caves. And so he has to travel with a pack of wolves and this endless quest for more and more weapons. So it's a national, it's a personal, national, global need for us to come out of denial. So what is it, the obstacle in our personal life that's stopping us from moving closer to God realization? The transfiguration of the body of Jesus into a vessel of radiant spiritual light, and the means by which this rare achievement has to be obtained, is the question the challenge we all have to take on. Do I really want to evolve my spiritual consciousness? The teachings remind us that you, this human organism, you are the light of the world. That we are housed in the most awesome, magnificent organism on the planet. But if I really want to get it together, I have to open these 7 seals. The human body has 7 chakras from the base of the spine to the crown of the head. That's why we see so-called, I say so-called, advanced figures in the church and different religions with a crown, where the crown represents the anointment of this higher chakra that saw here the mold at our birth. That's anointment. So a Christian is, in the true sense, is someone who has been anointed by the highest frequencies of solar energy. Okay. Are we moving towards that place in our lives? You see? Do we understand that the difference between recreation and recreation? That was a wonderful, how much of our activities are being spent in recreation. It was a wonderful thing that we had the Pantheon, and it's one of the latest raves of how we express our creative energies. But has that taken us any closer to spiritual evolution? If you ask the average person, what's the purpose of life? They can't really tell you. Or what the word education means. Education, brothers and sisters, technically means to lead out. You see, truth is looking us in the face, literally. When you look at yourself in the mirror, do you see the shape of the pyramid as your nose, and the point at the top of the pyramid as your third eye? And you're working to try to open it up? Most of us don't. So the global family's problem is that we're in denial of the very purpose of life. And guess what? To open your third eye, all you have to do is eat right and meditate. No degrees, no fancy, impressive achievements in academia, none of that. So while you're sending your children to school to get their degrees, it doesn't mean too much if you're not opening the inner vision. So interpreted from a symbolical perspective, Palm Sunday and Easter are two of the most enlightening and inspirational stories in the Christian Bible. And while we sit around and say, what's wrong? Please stop cursing the darkness. And in many instances, it's impractical. I have some of my friends that talk with the Islamic, then the Hebrew teachings, the Yoruba, whatever it is. They spend too much time cursing the darkness. What was done wrong? What are you doing to help your Islamic, Hebraic, Christian, Yoruba, Akan brothers and sisters open their inner vision? Most of us don't even know the depth of the whole religious trip to enlighten people. Being on Facebook is a painful experience. There's some of the most ignorant people in the world that spend all their time cursing the darkness. So Jesus, riding into Jerusalem on a donkey, greeted by people with palm branches, represents the victory of spirit in overcoming the stubborn donkey tendency of human personality. So show me that. Don't teach them about how Christians have been too much focused on the Master Jesus. Show me the essence of his teachings. Don't waste my energy with that other foolishness that you have with your dogmatic energies. Show me what features in my religious teachings are going to open my chakras. Learn what the essence of my religious teachings are. Show me that the star and crescent represent the integration of the masculine and feminine. The horizontal and vertical line in the Christian cross represent the same goal. Show me that. Tell me that the tetrachromatum, the two inverted and the upright triangles on the Hebrew symbol represent the integration of the yin and yang. Same teaching. Tell me about the similarities and stop running off your mouth about what's wrong. With the religious teaching. Because if you show the Christian, the Muslim, the Buddhist, the Hebrew, the esoteric metaphysical aspect of what they're doing, then you will help us move to another level. Because you're just being a voice for the demonic influences when you sit and criticize. Palm branches come from extremely tall trees that form into a crown at the top. And they're used to honor great achievements. So we want to, when we see palm today, that represents great achievements. And we may subtly, without condemning, ask that person a question about what they believe the palm is about and try to indirectly teach them what it really is. Oh, I see you're wearing that palm. It's a symbol of achievement. What would you say is your major achievement over this year? Well, I stopped losing my temper. I stopped gossiping. I stopped the person. I stopped such and such. Oh, that's wonderful. I might even wear a piece of palm, not even being a Christian, to help somebody understand what it means. So entry into the city of Jerusalem, the city of peace, symbolizes it's possible for those who have tamed and sublimated the forces of their lower animal nature. On whatever religion teaching you're involved in, it represents the same thing. Are you crowned? Have you opened your crown chakra? Have you been anointed by the highest frequencies of solar energy? In most instances, no. Because it's impractical for you to think that all the Christians are going to change, Muslims are going to change. It's ridiculous. You're wasting your time and theirs. So help them become powerful in their religious tradition. A subtle and powerful problem we all encounter when attempting to identify the undermining influence of the negative forces about animal nature is represented by Judas. You see, Judas is the infamous disciple who betrayed the master Jesus. It's us betraying our I am. The I am in my personality. The I am is my spiritual essence. The I am, which I explained to you before, the goal of America is in the name America, and is to create the I am race. If you take the name apart, that's what you'll see. I'll send you an article if you want on the spiritual destiny, the metaphysical destiny of the meaning of the American dream. And it tells you that that's what our destiny is. As a race, that's the ideal. And because we don't pay attention unless we're pushed up against a wall, well, they have the Republicans in there now to make us do that. I lived in Harlem. And as long as somebody could, one of my melanated brothers and sisters could ride down the street, could skate down the street, whatever, with a boombox and a joint in their mouth. They didn't pay no attention to nothing else. That's how strong our sensory influences are. That's the curse of that blessing. And so the Trump administration, the Republicans, are put into place by the higher forces to make us pay attention. So when there's no health insurance, you take more care of your health. You won't be falling prey to that dialysis capitalistic trick to get paid through insurance for our abuses. Palm Sunday, the underlying message. What is my Judas factor? Judas is a symbol of the chief negative characteristics in our personality. And it clothes itself in subtle tactics. Yes, it does. That we're deceptive. That deceive us. Pardon me. Okay. Elaborate justifications and deceptions of self-denial. Blaming my parents, blaming my spouse, blaming my siblings, blaming another race of people. Karma, what goes around comes from. We say that all the time. It sounds slick, right? Until the chickens come home and loose. So we need to stop deceiving ourselves. Nobody is to blame for my present situation but me. I have access to all the power in the universe, really. I'm just not using it correctly. Every time we think about our negative situation and visualize it, we're cursing ourselves. As a metal, interesting. As a metal associated with the moon, a planet whose apparent light is actually an illusion. Silver. Silver represents the state of lunacy, expressed through the belief that true happiness can be realized through material possessions. And that is one of the biggest problems that we have in the world today. We haven't understand that only the development of this physical organism and the opening of all these 7 seals are going to give us the bliss that we crave for constantly, that we try to piece together through the various sense pleasures, the never-ending pursuit. The kingdom of heaven represents that light. You are the light of the world. And only light can fulfill that appetite. Only high frequency energy. Man, how many wives, how many husbands, how much sex, how much money, how much possessions. We're still depressed at the end of the day. We've got all kind of sickness riding through our system, cancer. Well, cancer is an ailment that comes from holding on to anger. Why did God let such and such happen? Let God didn't let such and happen. You have a blank checkbook that you refuse to learn how to write on. So metal, silver is a metal associated with illusion. The moon doesn't have any light of its own. So there's 30 pieces of silver. 3 is the number of creativity. It's a number of art. It represents those elaborate justifications that we create for our unproductive of positive energies, experiences, situation. And so 33 times 3 is the number of creativity, and represents 10 represents manifestation. So we've manifested, we've used our creative energies to manifest, and the more creative a person is, the more elaborate the illusions are. The remorseful act of suicide, resorted to by Judas, is symbolical of the destruction of self-defeating attitudes. The remorseful act of suicide. And let me say this to those of you who may be out there and know someone who contemplates suicide. The most negative outcome of suicide is to be born in a situation that's worse than the one you're already in. Most of us have thought about that. But if you're contemplating that, remember, you come back in a worse situation than you're running from now, because you can run, but you can't hide. So we did the crime, pay the time. You did the crime, pay the time, you do the time. Okay? So the cross is the body with the arms outstretched. The arms outstretched. 5 points. And our task is to get our bodies, mind, emotions, soul, and spirit in tune with the I am. That's the whole purpose also of the 5-pointed star, the symbol of this nation. So we want, on an individual level, red is for passion, blue is aspiration, white is purity. The nation, the karma for the nation is that we have to, at this point, take down all these fancy, altruistic, humanitarian symbols. I'm not singing all these humanitarian songs, but not living up to it. If you've lived in India, as I have, or the Caribbean islands, Belize being one of them, you've seen poverty, and you've seen how wasteful we are as a nation of people. Yeah, you and I too. So can we try to crucify that attitude? Those practices? I stand in Walmarts and the Dollar Tree and Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, just shake my head. Oh my God, we are so rich and spoiled. Playing games with food, throwing tomatoes, having a hot dog contest. That's sinful. And the wages of sin is death, which sin means to miss the mark. This is to show us how we can begin stopping that. You know how many places in the world that don't have water? Use the same water. If you can boil it, use it for something else. Just to make yourself understand. You can't stand in the shower for a half hour with the water just running on you. That's wasteful. Palm Sunday. What are my psychological illusions? You have enemies that are doing things to us that we don't care for. What did we do to them in some other incarnation? Doesn't matter what you remembered it or not. You don't remember that you passed through a traffic light, but the camera does, and you get a ticket in the mail. So whatever you experience, even if you don't remember when you did it, you did it. Because what goes around really comes around. So I'm sorry to see my dear brother Bill Cosby have to pay his dues coming up next month, but the energies indicate that he was guilty. So lastly, in these last 10 minutes, okay, thanks for bearing with me. So the Jesus falling, descends down the cross is a symbol of the physical body with outstretched arms, the eventual fate of our carnal habits and desires, that every person who responds to the call of his divine nature can rise above. But are you wondering, oh, I don't have time to meditate? That little prayer you said, that's fine to ease your conscience. It's not opening up your chakras. You have 7 spiritual centers in your body. What are you doing to open those spiritual centers on a daily basis? Nobody's concerned about how much time you put into your creature comforts, or that in-law, that relative who you're taking back and forth to dialysis, who you're spending all kind of money because of the Alzheimer's that he or she brought on themselves. You have to become more discriminant. How much time can I give to this person who got themselves sick? Because I can't use that on the other side when my inner vision is not opened. I'm my brother's keeper to a degree. If I'm taking my brother or sister or parent or whatever to dialysis or whatever, but they're still entertaining the same habits that got them into that situation, maybe I should stop. Because as my good friend in DC used to tell us all the time, Kathleen Halley, don't reward bad behavior. The crucifixion of the body of Jesus represents the death of our carnal personality, our false personality. We each have. The 5 wounds on the body of Jesus represent the, let me back up, but what I want to mention to you also is that Jesus fell 3 times carrying the cross. The first time represents the physical habits. You know, you want to change your diet, but each fall represents a different level of challenges. So the second fall represents the mental attitudes, the negative thinking. And the third fall represents the emotional attachments, which were the hardest, because we've been with these people for lifetimes, many lifetimes. The 5 wounds on the body of Jesus represent the 5 passions. 5 again, 5-pointed star, is to purify. You see? Those emotions. So the 5 passions represent ego. I'm more important than other people, so we think. It doesn't mean we shouldn't have an ego. The ego is your sense of self. It's being egotistical. 5 passions. And the next passion is anger. Our anger comes about when we don't really understand what's involved. We may have some physical condition, bipolar, hypoglycemia, something like that, but we need to correct those things. But that's another vice because it wastes a lot of energy. ego, anger, and then we have greed. How many cars do you need? How much money do you really need to put aside? How much food do you really have to have packed into your refrigerator? Greed. How many pairs of shoes do you really need? You need 100 pairs of shoes? 50 pairs? How many are you gonna wear at one time? Wake up every morning thinking of letting your mind reflect after you've given thanks for waking up on all the people in the world. The millions who would love to change places with you. Greed, lust, an intense desire for something, usually physical pleasure or lust, wanting, you have to have more. You're not satisfied with what you have. An attachment. Not understanding that this person is my mother, my sister, my brother in this lifetime is just there because of a karmic entanglement. They are no more my sister, brother, father, mother than the person next door. It's just the karmic entanglement, the attachment from other lifetimes. Put it in its proper perspective. So they must be destroyed before we can attain a spiritual rebirth. So it represents the nails in the body of Jesus that nail us to the cross, meaning it makes us keep coming back again and again into incarnation until we fix it. We're not knowing about the consequences. And I can't let an opportunity go by without explaining that. We're not, the earth is at an all-time moral low, morality. Think about the consequences of your transgender behavior. Think about the consequences of your homosexual lifestyle. Because it is a violation of spiritual laws and principles. That's your decision. People can go in and out of jail as many times as they want to. But we're not being told about consequences. If the Creator puts you in a female or a male form, that's what you're supposed to be in karmically in this lifetime. If all the scriptures say that homosexuality is a sin, it means to miss the mark, then there's consequences. But at least let our young people know about the consequences. And they can make, hopefully, an intelligent decision. Okay. What are the consequences of us following the lead of a younger cultured people? Meaning our Caucasian brothers and sisters. It doesn't seem like they're able to get it together on their planet. So we might need to back up and reevaluate the wisdom of our Aboriginal ancestors. With all due respect. Nation-wise, we have a very big problem because the planet Saturn, every nation, every city, every endeavor has a chart of energies. And this year with the planet Saturn, the planet of discipline, of rules and regulations of karma, is in a very sensitive place. We have in our nation's capital the planet Jupiter, which is the planet of abundance, of education, of religion, of philosophy, of good fortune. It's in a key position. So if you live in DC, you know someone in DC, let them know that they're in a wonderful position to empower that iconic that spiritually charged iconic city. I was thinking this morning that white is a master number. White is color white. It represents light. So if we sit and meditate on all the iconic structures, just not in DC, but across our nation, we'll drive the negative influences and those who carry them out of those edifices. Rather than allow the powers that be, the global management team, the New World Order, to keep us focused in the basement of our melanin. This is a message for all melanated people. You see, the three chakras below the heart chakra is what has us being servants. But if we understand the energy above those chakras, the heart, the love center, our throat center, the words we put out there, the power of the word, the third eye center, the power of our vision, the crown chakra, where we seek attainment of the highest frequencies, we can turn it all around. You see? It's sad when somebody knows you more than you know yourself. The Germans were studying melanin since 1917. We didn't even know the word existed. So they know. You see? It's like Boda said, sex and booze. They love that. Senses. So when you're rushing to see Panther, it's sensual enjoyment. Okay. And I was telling a young sister in the park the other day, as I was sitting there doing my sun gazing exercise, that in ancient times, you see the difference between recreation and recreation is that billiards in ancient times were taught as a game of strategy for royalty. So it taught people the billiards, the shooting pool was a game that showed them how to improve their strategy in life. Instead of just going out on it, so you could do it with soccer, with basketball, with ping pong, with boxing, with all of it. But none of that's being done. So that's just fun. And fun is a meaningless activity. May give you some physical exercise, and that's it. So take charge. And lastly, so worldly factors and forces that attempt to imprison the unconquerable human spirit are symbolized by the huge stone placed at the entrance of the tomb. Okay. It's not about being, to back up, it's not about being puritanical. It's about understanding that the globe is has a big problem. We live in a country where 16 cities, 16 states, condone bestiality. We don't have a measuring stick. And we wonder why there's so much, there's so many, for example, sex crimes rampant. The moral code is at an all-time low. So we have to at least tell our people. I have an album out, a CD album, and it's called Spiritual Redemption. You can tune into it on SoundCloud. And the song I want you to listen to is Don't Play House. You have to read the commentaries, though. Read the commentaries. SoundCloud Spiritual Redemption, Bubba G. Read the commentaries. They're another powerful, they're all powerful. Another one pertinent to right now is the drug conspiracy. You see, the powers that be know that you're supposed to open your chakras. You don't know that for the most part. And the other song you may want to hear and read upon is End Times. End Times, Drug Conspiracy, and Don't Play House. Keep the Nookie New is another one because it teaches women the beauty and the power of their bodies. I want you to go on, if you will. Okay, the last one is 30 days in the tomb. 3 days in the tomb, rather, prior to the resurrection, represent the period of gestation. 3 days in the tomb, prior to the resurrection, represent the period of gestation required to initiate the birth of every newly awakened individual. Every spiritual identity. I'm sorry, the birth of our newly awakened spiritual identity. The formulation of this new self in the tomb, in the womb of our soul, and the consequent modification of every aspect of our spiritual personality. So this gives you more light also on understanding Jonah in the whale's belly. Many of us listening in this program now have a whale of a problem we're dealing with. We're in the belly. But that excruciating experience, hopefully, will formulate a new self, a new attitude, a new understanding of our lives, and the consequent modification of every aspect of our personality. So thank you very much for tuning in. Sorry, we got off to, unfortunately, we started off to I had some technical problems. I'm going to deal with that this week. Okay, I'm going to be on a show this evening. It's going to be if you check Facebook, okay, you'll see what program I'm on this evening. Minister Anna, okay, out in Houston, Texas, okay. And we have classes in the Kabbalah. That's for free. We actually have if you want to join the Egyptian Christian congregation, you get one webinar a month. The fee is $10 a month, $10 contribution a month, and you get a seminar that you can study for the whole webinar for the whole month. Okay. I wish that it would be helpful if you could contribute. Hi, Michelle. Oh, goodness, I didn't come earlier, but you'll be able to look at the webinar with your independent self. Michelle is the name of an independent leadership kind of person. And so we want you look, Michelle, at when you look at this, what is it that you need to crucify in your personality so that you can be more independent and express your originality in its highest constructive manner. So also, brothers and sisters, if you will, like I said, my GoFundMe page is GoFundMe Minister Gabriel Amlak, or GoFundMe Christ Body Builders. Whatever you can contribute will help to further this work, and I can't express that enough. It hasn't gotten much response, but I'll continue to make the attempt. So now we have membership in the Egyptian Christian congregation, which makes it possible for you to take one webinar a month. Our curriculum is the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is the wisdom of ancient Egypt based on the science of the cosmos. And remember, none of these symbols, Stone Crescent, Christian Cross, the Hebrew alphabet, none of these symbols belong to the respective religion. They belong to the cosmos. The Kabbalah deals with the life-like code of the cosmos. It's an awesome, awesome system. It's in the Christian Bible, so it's not, but it doesn't mean it belongs to Christianity. Okay? You can also, every week, because I have this Science of Life class, please spread the word, okay? I'm going to be hopefully more visible during the week. We're moving through some very crucial times. And so let's please keep your prayers out there for me, and I in turn will do likewise. So God bless you, And this program is there available for you to share with other people, okay? And of course, yes, I'm here because I love you. Okay, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.